All right, welcome back to Adobe Illustrator with Mr. Fogelson. We are ready for our next skill. This is going to be create using shapes. We're going to head to Adobe Illustrator. Remember, there is a link in the assignment, as well as you can head down to the dock and click on the Adobe Illustrator icon, and that'll take you to the web version. All right, of Adobe Illustrator. We're going to go ahead and next sign in. Just a friendly reminder to sign in, right? We're going to sign in using Google. Don't forget to make sure you use your @nec34.com account with your username. Super important, make sure you put company or school account when you are signing in. All right, and we're going to go ahead and do the next lesson, create using shapes. All right, first we have a video from Adobe we're going to check out.
There are lots of artwork examples out there that you can make with Illustrator on the web. Want to know a secret? You don't need to know how to draw to make these things. The building blocks of most things you're going to create in here are actually shapes. Think of shapes like Lego bricks. If you've ever played with Legos or other building blocks, you'll know that each Lego brick combines with other bricks to actually make something more interesting. Shapes in Illustrator work the same way. A shape alone is just a shape. But when you bring them together, you can create something unique and amazing. Think about your favorite presentation software you've been using forever. Have you ever made a shape? How about a text box? If you have, then you already know the basics of how to create and use what we call vector art. And because you're familiar with the concepts from presentation software, you already know the basics of using creative software like Illustrator. You just need to know how to apply them in Illustrator. In here, you've got a series of shape tools you can use. And you can transform and completely customize those shapes, even combining them to make new ones. You can even make straight and curvy lines, what are called paths. In this lesson, you'll explore what you need to know to create, color, and combine shapes to make new ones. So let's jump in.
All right, thank you, Adobe. We're going to go ahead and start our next lesson, create using shapes. Okay, so let's take a look. Find the shape tool in the toolbar. Remember, if we're in the selection tool, we're able to go over to the underline word or words, and it'll show me where the shapes tool is very nicely. There it says rectangle tool, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. It says click all the shapes, and then it says select the ellipse tool. There we go. There's the ellipse tool. All right, nice. It says press the shift key as you draw and make a perfect circles. Draw a few circles on the dashed lines to make bubbles. Then the selection tool in the toolbar to resize and move the bubbles. All right, so I have the bubbles there. I'm in the ellipse tool. I'm going to go ahead and change my stroke to get rid of it by clicking the stroke color. That's my outline. And I'm just going to go to the do not. So I'm not going to have a stroke. Make sure you do not as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to my fill color here, and I'm going to select like a bluish, lightish bluish color for my bubbles, okay? They selected various different blues. I'm just going to go ahead and select it. That's for my fill. Stroke, remember, no stroke. And then my fill color, I went and selected one. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag a circle, but make sure you hold your shift key. What does a shift key do? Watch how it constrains it really nicely. I'm holding the shift key now. I'm not holding the shift key. It's kind of more free-forming. So I'm going to hold the shift key, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw it over the circle, and then I'm just going to click off of it, and I'm going to go back to that ellipse tool and draw a new circle. Hold that shift key. Notice how I'm a little bit off that circle. That's okay. We'll move it in a little bit. I'm going to go back to that ellipse. I'm just gonna go ahead and I notice how they changed the bubbles to different type shades and tints of blue. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do what they did a little bit. Not the same exact blue, but and I'm just gonna go to that selection tool and move it a little bit since I'm already in there. And then I'm gonna go back to the ellipse tool. In the ellipse tool, select a different shade of blue there, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag it out. Remember, hold that shift key when you're doing it. Then I'm in the selection tool, and I'm just going to move it to the spot. And then I'm going to go back to the ellipse tool, drag out my last ellipse, hold the shift key, release the mouse, and then the shift key. That's super important that you release the mouse first and then the shift key. Otherwise, it glitches out and doesn't do what you want it to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and select a tint of blue there. So I'm just going with various blue colors. And if I want to change it, so I want to drag it out a little bit more, I'm just going to hold the shift key in the selection tool, hold the shift key, drag it out a little bit more, click off of it, and I've got it all set up there. Nice, easy peasy, right? All right, so it says try adding a pearl to the clam. Okay, so I want to do a pearl. I'm going to change the fill color to white. I'm going to click on that white there. Remember, no stroke, so remember that no stroke option, so there's no outline. I'm going to go ahead and go to the ellipse tool there. That's the kind of like circle, right? And then I'm just going to go ahead and drag it out and hold the shift key, release the mouse, and then the shift key. Looks good. Everything's all set up. Click off of it. It's all set. We're all good. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to use the middle mouse button to scroll, and I'm going to go to this one, next lesson. You can also click the next lesson button, but it took me a little too far there, so I'm using the scroll on the mouse. Okay, so it says try using other shapes and tools to add details to this fish. Okay, so we notice that we've got these two fish with some cool details. I'm going to go to the shapes tool, which we've been using. Click on the shapes. We're going to start off with some rectangles. I'm going to go to the fill color. I'm going to go to the eyedropper tool. I'm actually going to select kind of this pinkish red, more pink than red. And I'm going to maybe make it a little bit darker. And I'm going to go ahead and drag out a rectangle. And then I'm going to go ahead and select by clicking off of it, so that way I don't mess with the color on it. And then I'm going to go back to that rectangle tool and drag it out again. And we're going to go ahead and change and add more of a shade. Okay, and then I'm going to click off of it and then go to the rectangle tool, and I'm just adding some nice shapes to it. I'm going to go with more of a tint on this one. All right, so far so good. Let's see. Let's get some triangles in there. I like how they put some triangles in there. So I'm just going to put in a triangle. We're going to put it there, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. We haven't done rotations yet, but we're going to rotate soon. I just like the way this looks because they rotated theirs. So we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and I've got it there, and I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it. And we're going to learn more about this stuff in the near future, but I'm just adding some cool stuff there. And I'm just going to go ahead and make it a shade, more of a shade, to add some cool stuff to our fish here, some pattern. Let's go ahead and add some circles. Actually, I'm going to do ovals instead. So these ovals will be nice. There we go. And I don't mind that. I'm going to click off of it, and I'm going to add another oval, maybe a little smaller, and change it to a nice tint. And then I'm going to go back to the shapes tool and add another triangle. Let's click off this because it's kind of getting in the way. And then we're going to add another polygon, I should say. This one, polygon, is a triangle, and we're going to rotate it. Whoa. Let's see if we can lock it in there. Nope. 270. All right, so we're going to move it just a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and add a shade. All right, so we made our design there. Everything looks good with the fish. I added some shapes and tools and details. So far, so good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use that middle mouse button to scroll. You can also hold the space bar, left click and drag down. All right, and then it says resize the shape. Scale the seahorse to fit in the cave. With the selection tool, which I'm in, select the larger seahorse. There we go. press the shift key and drag the corner and resize without stretching it. So they don't want us to stretch it, right? Whoa, oh boy, that was kind of messy. So let's make sure we do the shift key, right? And drag it down with the mouse. Okay, release the mouse and then the shift key, right? Magic. There we go. And then move it in the cave. All right, so far so good. Okay, so next we're going to change the colors, make the fish more colorful. Select any part of the fish. To change the color, click the fill circle in the toolbar, and that can change the color. So I'm going to go ahead and change the colors. We're going to go ahead and take a look here. It does say Illustrator comes with some swatches. You can use them or make them your own. So let's start off with the swatches. Let's see what's going on. All right, so we got some swatches down here. I'm just going to go ahead and use the swatches to do my first one. Okay, this is going to be a really colorful fish of many various colors. We're not going to change the eyeball. And we're just going through and changing the color of the fish. And I'm just going to repeat this pattern here because I can. And we're going to go ahead and I'm just going through and adding colors. That one kind of matches too much with the background, so I'm going to skip that one. And I'm in the swatch library here. We're going to avoid the purple because we want to make sure, so you can show me that you changed the colors and that you didn't forget anything. Avoid like the purple colors that you see here and change every single color of purple that you see. Whoops. And I'm going through the swatch library again to change the colors. We're going to avoid the purples, right? So the first two, I went in the swatch library. You could decide if you want to go through the swatch library and change the colors as well. Again, don't forget to avoid the purples. And the swatch library is really kind of nice because you can go through and click really nicely colors. And I'm just, some of them, like if you see them and it's like non-discriminately, there's no changes between colors. I just change them to a various colors so you can actually see them, right? I want to be able to distinguish the colors between each other. All right, so the last one, I'm going to actually go into the fill color and I'm going to select the colors myself. I'm not going to use the swatch library. And I'm just going to get rid of this contextual taskbar out of the way so I can see the fish more. And I'm just going to manually change them this time just because I like to do a variety of stuff because otherwise it gets boring, right? So feel free to kind of like decide whether you want to use the library or manually change them. Totally up to you. The main important thing is that you can distinguish between the colors, that you're not using purple, okay? So that way I can tell you change the colors. Otherwise it gets kind of more difficult to be like, hey, did you select up purple or did you just forget about it? So this way there's no question. Purples are changed and you're selecting various colors to add to your fish. I think I'm just changing the one there. Some of these get a little tight and confusing, so you got to make sure that you're changing them. All right, so far so good. And the purples are almost all changed. There's a lot here, so just make sure you do it so that way you get credit. Okay. And it's always good to kind of like double check your work. So I'm just going to go through, is there any purples that I missed? You know, I used the swatch library here. Everything looks, there's no purple. Okay, so that's good. And you're like, well, why can't you use purple, Mr. F? What do you got against purple? The thing is it lets me know that you were able to change it because it's hard to tell otherwise for grading purposes. So I have nothing against purple. I love purple. It's just I want you to know that I need to grade you. So just change it to other colors, okay? All right. So this one's a little bit tricky, but if you follow along closely, you can get it. It's a jellyfish. We're going to make this thing. And again, just make sure you're paying attention on this one because it does get a little bit tricky on it, okay? So we're going to merge the shapes to make a single shape. All right, so we're going to start by making this jellyfish by combining them. So where it says start at the X, you'll see there's an X here. It's like a dashed X. It's kind of like yellowish gold. And you're going to drag across the overlapping shapes to select them. So notice how I start my cursor here. I left click and drag a selection there. So I'm in the selection tool and I selected everything, okay? So that's the first thing you need to do, select everything. Then in the selection tool options panel under combine shapes, combine all. And if you're going to need to know where this is. So I'm in the selection tool, which is nice. I go to combine all and you'll see that the combine shapes, and then there's like kind of like a greater than sign, combine all. So it's in there, okay? So you see to the right, I'm going to go ahead and go to that combine all tool, and then I'm going to go to where it says combine all, okay? Remember, combine all, combine all. All right, and then presto. All right, it did it. And it's combined. So now you just have to make sure you move it to the where the jellyfish goes. Okay, so you did the hard part. So this is the fun part. You move it to the spot where the jellyfish goes. Now you've got the full complete jellyfish next to the other jellyfish, the pink one. All right, or pinkish purple, I should say. All right, so then I'm going to hit next. And congrats, you completed lesson 2. All right, there was a lot to do there. Just follow along with the lesson. If you need to go back and rewind, totally okay and understandable. Just make sure you're reviewing the steps and taking your time. And also don't forget to go back and check your work to make sure you did it correctly. All right, we're going to then go ahead and save the work, right? You're going to save it and it saves to the cloud. And then we're going to export, hit the 3 bars, export as. Make sure you uncheck the lessons that we're not doing. So intro is the first one we already did. So shapes is the one we're going to want to keep checked, and everything else should be unchecked. Remember, we're saving it as a PNG, not an AI file. So PNG, and then we're going to go ahead and export. Super important, remember that it shouldn't save to your documents or downloads, it should save to your desktop. Desktop's where it's at. All right, then hit save, and it is on our desktop. So I'm just going to go ahead next and go to my assignment in Google Classroom. Then you're going to go ahead and hit that exit full screen mode. That is the green button in the upper left of your window. To make sure that you can see your desktop save that you just saved there. I'm going to go ahead and hit add or create, file. All right, and now I'm going to upload the tutorial that I just completed, which was create shapes using shapes, right? Going to drag it in there. It's going to load up. And then click turn in and click turn in. Remember, you must click turn in twice. Super important. And then it's good to go. You can always unsubmit and resubmit, but remember, turn in twice. Super important to get the job done so I can get that grade for you. All right, you're all set. It's your time to shine. So give it a go. Time to get into shape, right? Let's do it. And this isn't even PE class. All right.